And we are live here at the Bermuda College. Thank you. First of all, good morning to my viewers. Good morning, Dr. Duranda Green. This will be your last
Yes.
interview with any media outlet as president of the
Bermuda
Bermuda
College.
College.
Yes.
How are you feeling?
It's bittersweet. I'm looking forward to the next chapter of what God has in store for me. I think, but of course, having spent 2/3 of my life with the Bermuda College, or in some form or fashion, either as a student, a faculty member, an administrator, or the president, I'm sure on Tuesday morning I will wonder what I'm supposed to be doing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
37 years
Yeah.
in this field.
38 September 1st.
38.
If I was here till September 1st, it would be 38. So it's just shy of 38 years at the Bermuda College. Yeah.
What would you contribute or consider to be a major accomplishment?
The major accomplishments, if I go back to being a faculty member, would be introducing academic advising along with Dr. Lewis Tucker, who's a former employee of the Bermuda College. That would be a highlight during that period of time. And of course, just being in the classroom. Education, teaching is my first love, seeing those light bulb moments go off. As a dean, I would say looking at my role as Dean of Business and Hospitality, I would say introducing the Months of Vincent program way back in 2000 when we introduced it. Who would have thought that 23 years later we will still be having that relationship and partnership? So that is something that I'm one of the accomplishments that I'm very proud of. And that program came about to allow persons who couldn't afford to go overseas or could afford to but just couldn't because of timing or having a family, having a mortgage to pay, couldn't take time out, but they were allowed to take on that program. So that has been one of my most rewarding accomplishments, as I see every year stand up on the stage as president, because obviously it would have happened way before I was president, but standing up on the stage as president and seeing those students come across and then pinning them as an alumnus of Monts and Vincent myself, that's always a special moment for me. If I go on to special projects, I think looking at in my role as assistant to president for special projects, I would say the highlight there would have been the College for Working Adults, because many of those students that ended up going into the Monts and Vincent program came through the Bermuda College through the College for Working Adults. And that's bittersweet because we no longer have that program, and I think that was a very critical program and something that Bermuda College should consider reintroducing for working adults to get their associate degree in a more timely manner. I also think during that period of time, one of the highlights is the distance education, introducing distance education to the Bermuda College, leading that initiative, and which came into was greatly needed in 2000, where we shut down the campus because of COVID and the pandemic and working through that. So having a jump start, having introduced online education to the Bermuda College, some people were very familiar with it, and others got up to speed real quickly. I also believe that the dual enrollment program, at that point was the High School Advantage program, which is now the dual enrollment program. So those programs have stood the longevity of time, and I think those would be some of my accomplishments during that period of time. Obviously not doing it alone, having the support of the employees, faculty and staff working with me on that it's been a wonderful journey working with different individuals here at the Bermuda College, because every project had a different persons involved in it. I also, as president, I would say my main highlight would be two. One is obviously the Bermuda College Foundation, because I think that is a long-standing something that will benefit Bermuda College in the long run for years and years and years to come. So I think that's one of the highlights. And then the second one will probably be the National Educators Institute, which people don't know much about because we're still getting it off the ground. but working with Ms. Severin, Rizalda Severin, on the National Educators Institute, and the private and public school teachers that have 30 teachers who have dedicated the last 18 months to getting this up and running, so that in May we were able to put on 2 events. I think that has been a highlight, and I wish them all the success. And anybody listening who has some funds that they want to help improve education on the island, not just public education, but this is public and private schools, and it's a place, a hub where educators can go and talk about their trade. You know, you have the lawyers that have the Bermuda Bar Association. You have medical doctors that have the Bermuda Medical Doctors Association. So everybody has the ABIC, ABIR, BILTER, all the international business organizations. But this is a place for educators on the island at all levels, from primary right up to the Bermuda College. And to see those individuals working together and learning from each other. So the private school teachers are learning something from the public school teachers. Public schools learning from private. So that has been very rewarding to see that over the last 18 months. And I'm just hoping that they will get funding to sustain it. Yeah.
The junior enrollment program has been something that really caught my attention. You get the brilliant minds from the high schools that come in early.
Yeah.
That must be highlighted as a success.
Yeah. And I do. The dual enrollment program, and it's two facets to that. You have those that are here full-time, who will graduate with their associate degree, which is amazing that you're graduating basically before you graduate from high school, because our graduation, as you know, leads the graduation season on the island. So we graduate in May, and they've just graduated in June a few weeks ago. And to see those students be able to take that degree and go into a 4-year program with advanced standing. Some of them are going with 2 years, and so they just got 2 more years. So by 2021, they've got their bachelor's degree. And then there's the part-time students who come up 2 or 3 days a week, or just coming up for a course. They are also able to compete, because that's what's happening in North America. Many of the universities are working with high schools, colleges and universities are working with high schools to give the students a head start when it comes to further higher education. And I think Bermuda College has played its role to make sure that the Bermudian students that leave us, especially from the public school, and this year we even had some work academy students with us. That has been, yes, it has been a success, and it has been rewarding. And hopefully it will expand to other, I know Dr. Osborne, who leads that initiative, she's working with some other private schools on MOUs as well. So, yeah.
Good stuff. I'm sure this, I can say for myself, from 1980 when this facility opened, this place has evolved.
Yeah.
The Bermuda College, the hotel technology side, which was next door, the format has changed.
Yeah.
Is it still focused on hotel preparation?
Yeah, obviously the Bermuda College still owns, let me make sure everybody's clear, Bermuda College still owns Cocoa Reef Hotel. It's managed by Cocoa Reef owners, obviously, but training still takes place, and we're hoping they're doing some renovations now, and with those renovations and their upgrades, I'm expecting that more training will happen over there. And not just in hospitality, you have the trades, they have HVAC over there, and they have electrical things. So the students in the trades, technical education, can also get training over there. So their lease, it's a long-term lease, but that lease does still involve training aspect for the Bermuda College, or training aspect related to Bermuda College.
Is the focus still on getting our young people into the hotel industry? I know it's changed a lot since 78 when I was up at the old one.
Yeah.
But it was an introduction for us young people to come into the hotel field.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of Bermudians that went into the hotel.
Yeah.
How do we get more focus?
Well, I think if you remember,
Right,
if
yeah.
you were doing it in 1978, you probably did some hospitality training out there at Warwick SAC or St. George's SAC.
From 1975.
Right, and I think that is key, and that's not just with hospitality. I think with the education reform, one of the things that I do think is positive about that is that those young people will get exposed to trades more than just wait until they get to high school or the Bermuda College. So I think that will help with hospitality. But again, the working with workforce development, working with the hotels on the island, hoteliers on the island, we are trying to get more persons involved. The Bacardi, as you know, just did the Shake Your Future thing. We've been working with them and in conversations with them about how do we get that to be sustainable. So yeah, hospitality has its challenges, as you know, the unsociable hours that people talk about and all those other things, but this job has unsociable hours as well.
It's seasonal. You get 9
It's
months
seasonal,
of
and I think that's the
focus
issue
and
that
3
has
months
to be
of
addressed.
relaxation.
Yeah, that's the issue that I think really has to be addressed. Is the seasonality, because the unsociable hours, most jobs will have some unsociable hours at some point in time during that during the 12-month period during the year. But I think the issue for hospitality has to be how do you get it to be a 12-month thing, because people can't get, unless the banks come aboard and it's an island thing where you say you just have to pay interest early during this period of time or something. I think what the Reefs has done in the past, you know, their staff, they still somehow they have a plan where they still get paid. I don't know if they still do it, but I know when I was Dean of Business and Hospitality, that was some way that they kept. And if you look at the Reefs has a lot of Bermudian staff and have long-term Bermudian staff, and that may be a reason why. So I think we just have to be more creative about how we're going to get that.
My next question: what has been your greatest challenge as you running this institution?
Of course, my greatest challenge, I would say there's probably two. One of them has to do with the vote of no confidence in 2015, and the second would have to be the pandemic. A lot of sleepless nights wondered how to make sure that, because I was leading an institution, 100 plus employees and 600 full-time employees, and then the PACE, the professional and career education. So you're talking about 100,000 students, so wondering how you're going to keep these people safe and making sure that there is, you know, where our protocols. I had a great support team, and it can only be godly wisdom. Just prior to the pandemic, the island shutting down, we did a test run where we told everybody to stay home and see how the IT system works. So we had that the Wednesday, like a couple of days just before the island shut down. We were able to do that. We had surveyed our students and employees to find out if they had internet at home, if they had their phones had internet on them, was it a regular plan or was it a prepaid plan? So we had some data that we could make some decisions about. So even though we were able to get computers for those students that didn't have, the few students that didn't have a phone or any means, we were able to do that through a company downtown. They gave us some computers. We then also had the opportunity to open, once the island opened back, well, didn't open back up, but once we were no longer under lockdown, those students were able to come to the campus and book a room to have space to do that. And with some students just needed a quiet place because everybody was working from home and they just needed that quiet place. So we were able to support them through that. We didn't have any breakouts on campus of COVID. Having the testing center on campus was a blessing, a major blessing, because it didn't cost us anything because it was a government-run facility, and being able to have our staff and students test on a weekly basis without that additional cost was definitely a godsend. Yeah.
Bit of no confidence to go through that. How was the mental space with that?
It was a difficult time, and again, as I mentioned in the previous interview, it wasn't so much the vote of no confidence, because as leaders we have to admit that we have to know that not everybody's going to agree with all the decisions that you make. So it wasn't that, but it was how it got very, very personal. That's the part that bothered me. But And the fact that
quite disappointing, quite hurting.
it was hurting in a way, and then the fact that you would take a vote of no confidence the last day that you're on campus and refuse to come back to deal with it for 3 months. So you have it, I just had it hanging over my head from May until September. It was more than 3 months back because they came back in August, but it didn't get, because we're busy getting to the start of the year, so it didn't get addressed again until September. And having also we were in the middle of accreditation. The accreditation visit had taken place in the March, and I had to go and sit in front of our board of 20 plus accreditors in September with that still hanging over my head. And I made a decision at that time that I would let them know that it was hanging out there, because the Word Gazette is international on the internet. And so I made a decision that I would tell the accreditors what I was facing. And that was difficult, 20-odd strangers. But yeah, I got through that. And that Sunday, I ran in on the Friday. And that Sunday, I got a call to say that Bermuda College had been reaccredited, not for the 5 or 7 years that I was expecting, which I had informed my board prior to leaving, but for 10 years. So that was one of those but God moments. Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, but God brought you through it.
He did. He has been my strength through all of this and through all the challenges. And even, I'm a person of great faith. I believe that God has a purpose for all of us, and every Sunday morning or during Sunday, I walk this campus at least 3 times, and just praying for the next week. And yeah, so that was how I got through.
Are you one that, I can remember Kalmar Richards at Cedar Bridge.
A good friend of mine.
All of her students.
I don't know all of my students.
I found that when she said she knew 800 of her students. She knows all by name.
Yeah.
That is a gift.
Yeah.
Did you know 3/4 of your students?
But I was dean. I knew all of my students.
Oh, wow.
As a faculty member, of course, you have to know all of your students. But as a dean, I knew all of my students. The difference here, and Kalmar, I admire her leadership and all of that. But the difference here is that all of my students don't come in at the same time. So she stood at her gate and welcomed every student every morning by name. Here they come and go day, night. So it's no, unless you're going to pay me to sit over here and welcome them. It's not an opportunity to sit there. But when I was dean, I had the opportunity to be introduced to each of my students, because we did orientation, I did advising with them and all of that. So I do my students when I was dean, but at this level, no, I will not even say that I know half of the students here at the Bermuda College. Yeah.
The direction of the college moving forward, where do you see it going?
I think Bermuda College, the foundation has been laid for Bermuda College to take its next step. I think with the accreditation, with the international partnerships that we have, I do believe that Bermuda College is in a place where they can offer some 4-year degrees in specialized areas, because I do think we have the expertise on the island. So I do think it's an opportunity for Bermuda College to move into that space without becoming a university. I'm not saying Bermuda College to become a university. A lot of, if you look at the research now, a lot of North American institutions community colleges are offering baccalaureate degrees in certain disciplines. And I think that's the opportunity that Bermuda College has moving forward. I think international business, being the number one of the, you can argue if New York or London's number one, but Bermuda being a significant player in the international reinsurance and insurance space, and now the life insurance space, I think it's an opportunity to go on and offer a bachelor's degree in that area. With marine science, with the ASU, Arizona State University partnership with BIOS, I think it's an opportunity to do some work with them as well. And then, of course, education. I think we have to get to the point where we are making sure that our educators there's a continuous path of training, and that goes back to the National Educators Institute. It's about professional learning, making sure that they're looking at pedagogy and practice and research, and creating a bank of research for Bermuda's education system. So we're not always having to look overseas, but developing our own bank of research, what's going on in the classrooms here, and using that data to make significant improvements into our K-12 system. Yeah.
And note right here, you leave your audit reports up to date.
Yes, I did not make the newspaper last week or week before last, but the Auditor General, the Bermuda College audits are up to date. We're in the process of finishing, in the process of doing an audit now that is scheduled to be finished by September 30th. And that's the deadline that it has to get to the minister. So yes, Bermuda College is up to date. When I came on board in 2007, Bermuda College last audit was, Bermuda College was, 5 years off on their audits. And then, of course, we had the issue with Cocoa Reef, so that put us further behind. But I've had a great team of supporters in my business department since I've been here. I'm starting with Lloyd Christopher and Lennox Cumberbatch and Shanaside, and now I have Michelle Williams and Dwight Furbett, who's recently left us, but Michelle Williams is now taking on that role as the acting vice president of finance and operations and doing a fantastic job, and I know she will get that audit completed by September 30th. So Bermuda College audits are up to date, I'm pleased to say.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you are the first female president.
First female, yes.
The longest serving president.
I leave on Monday as the longest serving president, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
First female president. You broke into the glass ceiling. You hear so much about this glass ceiling. You broke through the glass ceiling. How does that make you feel personally?
It is good, but I also was the first female dean of business and hospitality, because they had all male deans before that, but for that joint department. But I will say that it was, it had its challenges at the beginning. I think it's just certain things that you take for granted. I remember one issue, when you're traveling as a female, put me in a cab at 3 o'clock in the morning with a stranger is not something that you should be doing. But I mean, as a male, you probably, so it was things like minor things like that you had to realize that you're dealing with a female president now. So our 6 o'clock flight in the morning is probably not going to be good unless I'm staying at the airport hotel.
How does it feel breaking through a male-dominated, what's the word I can use, establishment?
Again, I think as you look at the higher education, 16 years ago, it was less females than it is now in those positions, and less presence of color as well. So I think it has changed over the years, but there's still room for improvement. I'm still, sometimes I remember when I first started, many times I would go to a meeting, I would be the only female and only person of color in the room. Not so much now, so it has changed over the 16 years. And one of the things that I always vowed, that if I was in an all-male room, I was not agreeing to be the secretary of anybody for anybody. So that, yeah, because it's assumed that was one of the assumptions, and I'm like, nope, I don't think that. And I'm a trained secretary. I know that's one of the things that I did at the Bermuda College was executive secretary training. So I'm able to carry myself, but I would not be anybody's secretary if I'm in a boardroom.
After all your accomplishments, what might you say to that young male, young man or young female that might be sitting on the fence on which way they want to go after life? What might you say to them?
Do something that you're passionate about, and never give up on yourself. If you have to believe in yourself before anybody else believes in you. So I would say that I truly believe that there's good in everyone, and we just have to decide how we pull that good out of that individual. It's been when I have a passion for young people, and I'm mentored several, and I think that one thing that I always say to them is, you hold your future. Nobody can stop you but you. And it may be a delay. You may not get it when you want it, but you keep pressing if that's because what's meant for you is for you and nobody else.
A lot of the young people are going through, and you see it going through more mental health challenges. It's more exposed today. What might you say to those individuals?
Get help. And get help. As soon as you see something happening, I also say to parents, if you see a change in your child, get help. Get help as soon as possible. Yeah. Because I think there's a lot of helping services out there that people don't know about and don't use. But I will say, I find this generation is more accepting of mental health than our generation. We were very like, what happens in this house stays in this house. But it's, and I think, and I even think it's from, it's the stigma, I think that we were more concerned about. But I even remember as serving on scholarships over these past 3 years, since COVID, this generation will just come in when you ask them like how did they manage with COVID, they have no hesitation of saying that it helped. I had to seek counseling. So I do find that this generation is more. They acknowledge that they need help more so than our generation, which kept it in the family. So I do think that there's hope in there that you'll have people with, and that's probably why we say it's more mental health issues going on now. I'm not sure if it's more, or it's just that the persons are more open to sharing their mental health challenges. But I don't think it's any greater. I think COVID did have an impact, but I think the mental health issues have always been around. It's just that we haven't been guarded about.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm gonna throw it. What's next for you?
Well, I'm taking.
After Tuesday, what's next?
Dorothy.
How are you going to change your routine?
Well, I think I'm moving because, as you know, I was living. Well, you may not know. There's a president's house on the campus, so I'll be moving. The next couple of weeks, I'll be moving, and then I'm taking a 6-month sabbatical where I'm just exhaling. After 16 years, just exhaling, doing some traveling, and in January I will decide what I'm going to do. Then I'm currently working on education reform on one of the ministers' working groups, and I've committed to returning in January with some conditions. But I'm committed to the minister that I will return in January. And I also will be working on the Bermuda College Foundation Board as a public member. So I'm committed to continuing to raise funds for the Bermuda College.
Where do you see the change in education going?
I think it's needed. I don't think anybody interested in young people can say that we don't need to make some changes. So I do think we have to make some changes. I think that we need to also look at the keep the focus on the young people. And if we're going to make changes in the classroom, I think it starts with teaching and learning. So the focus has to be on how we're going to train our teachers. And it goes back to my comment earlier about how do you train, make sure that you have professional development, professional learning, professional development opportunities for educators on the island, and also the opportunity to get certified and raise that level. We do need to look at currently now, because we don't offer a bachelor's degree in teaching on the island, so you're bringing in all these certifications coming from all over the world that people are coming to our education system with, but we need to have somewhere, a test or something that makes sure that those individuals are fit for Bermuda and for Bermuda's class, to be in Bermuda's classroom. regardless of where you get your education from.
One might say yourself, president of Bermuda College, Calmar Richards, a lot of brilliant minds in Bermuda. The education system that they had back when we were younger worked for us.
Did it?
Why change? Did it? It brought you where you are. It brought you where you are.
I think it worked for some of us. I don't think it worked for all of us. I truly believe, I remember doing my master's degree in education, my dissertation was on the 11 plus exam, which would have been what we did, and you had students go to Berkeley or Work Academy, because Work Academy was public at that point in time, or they went to one of the other schools, and I don't know if that was the best, in the best interest of the island for everybody.
It made some children feel like they were less than.
Less than, and it also made some people feel like they were greater than, which it made me ugly. So I do think, and I was a product of that. I remember, it's interesting because I was in 11 when I left Prospect Primary, and my grandmother went up to, because I wasn't eligible to write the 11 plus exam because it said 11 plus. And so I wasn't eligible to write the exam, and I remember my grandmother going up and seeing the principal at that time and saying, like, I came from Powell's, went to Prospect Primary. I was instead of going to Standard 1, they put me in Standard 2. My sister didn't like it because we ended up being in the same year all through but we put me in Standard 2. And then you get to the end of the thing and you say she's got to stay back because she can't write the 11 plus exam. So the agreement that they made was that if I write the 11 plus, and they allow me to write the 11 plus exam, if I didn't get into one of the top schools that Work Academy or Berkeley, I would have to stay back at Prospect Primary. And of course I went to Berkeley Institute, and the rest is history. But I don't think I think we survived because of our resilience and the way that we were brought up. Like, our parents didn't take no nonsense, so education was the key. And whether you were at work, SAC,
I think that's a slogan that is not utilized. Education is
the key. Yeah. So no matter what school you were at, your parents were there. You had the support, and if it wasn't your parent, it was your grandparent or the neighbor's mama that was there. So I think we've lost that in trying to make sure that our children have a better future than we had. I think we've lost some of the things, but because I think we want our children to have a better future better than what we had. So that's, I think we've lost some of that, those key fundamentals that were key. I mean, if I didn't go home and do my homework, I had consequences. It was major consequences when my grandmother got home. So, yeah.
What are some of this? Lastly, who are some of those individuals you might want to thank publicly? Who's been your greatest support? Who's been that one that's pushed you? Who's told you you can do it? All of that. Who are those persons?
Well, when it comes to thanking Ms. Solange Soltis, who was the former Vice President of Academic and Student Affairs, who saw something in me that I didn't see myself, pushed me to go on to do my doctoral studies. I think she has been key, and she's been a mentor, even when it came to, was the one that appointed me when I was Vice President of, when I was Dean of Business and Hospitality. So I would give thanks to her. I would give thanks to those employees at the Bermuda College who have been there, whether it's from a faculty, when I was a faculty member, or the faculty members that I worked with, and those, because this was my first job as an educator, and this was my first job as an educator, and Lauren King, Francis Hitton, Val Pacheco, the late Gina Graham, those individuals, Darlene Bascom Emery, who's still a good friend of mine, they took me under their wing and helped me learn how to be a teacher. Even though I was trained and all that, but your first job is always that learning opportunity. And so I would thank them. Of course, my family members, my husband, my mom, my sister, my grandmother, all those individuals that have sacrificed for especially these last 16 years because I haven't been available for all family functions and all of that because of work commitments. So I would thank them for their support and their patience and sacrifices that they've made. Here at the Bermuda College, the administrative management team, I've had an opportunity to work with some amazing people. And I leave many of knowing that those individuals are committed to the Bermuda College and will take Bermuda College to the next stage. And that includes the executive that I've had the opportunity to work with as well.
Who is the successor for this position? Has it not been picked yet, and how does the process go?
The successor, they had 2 candidates come down. That was not successful, so they have an interim president who will start on August 1 in the name of Ms. Bremen Smith-King. She will be the interim president. Bermudian. Yeah, she's currently with the Bermuda Olympic Association. Yeah, she's been overseas in university. She worked in a Tufts University overseas for several years, many years. So so she would take over, and I wish Bermuda College all the success, continued success, and as I said to in my last all-employee meeting, we're not going to be concerned about those of us that are leaving. Focus on those of you that are staying because you are Bermuda College, and we can be there. I didn't do this by myself. It's all of you, all of those employees that played their part.
You are accessible if someone might want to get some advice. Or
oh, yes,
yeah,
I will.
Yeah.
If they would, I would.
You are still accessible.
I'm still accessible. I may not be accessible to physically come because I may be traveling, but
by phone.
Yeah, but I
always have a saying that the fruit that we have is not for us; it's for someone else to enjoy.
Yeah.
So the fruit that you produce, will continue to produce. Individuals are still going to need that knowledge, that help, that advice from you.
Yeah, Bermuda College as a school always have a special place in my heart, and education is my life. So I'm education, and that's why I've said to the minister I will continue on the education reform, because I do believe that education is the key to our success. And without the Bermuda College, I wouldn't be where I am today, because there was no nest there for education to further my education when I left Berkeley Institute, and I was only 15 years old. So coming to the Bermuda College, getting those 2 years, and then taking those 2 years, going to Acadia, and then keep going until I have 5 degrees later and no debt. So that was the foundation was laid here at the Bermuda College.
Back then, my last question.
Yeah.
Back then, did you see yourself where you are today?
No.
Did you ever envision yourself?
I truly wanted to be an accountant. I love numbers. Math was a strong point for me. I wanted to be an accountant. But I couldn't, after doing intermediate accounting and advanced accounting, I couldn't see myself just sitting in an office just pushing out numbers and, making sure the organization had a profit and all of that. I just couldn't see myself doing that. So that's when I decided, after I finished Acadia, that I would go to Monson Vincent and do education. And I did business education. So I was trained to be a business educator. So I was able to teach those business subjects that I had a passion for, but I just didn't see myself working in an office from 9 to 5. I love interacting with people. That teaching to me, when I had the opportunity to do my first teachers training practicum, I loved it. I got up every morning and felt like I was making a difference. I truly found my passion. And that's why even to this day I teach Sunday school and stuff like that, just to keep myself in the game. But, yeah.
May the Lord continue to bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your future endeavors. Congratulations on your achievements, and happy retirement.
Thank you. Thank you.
Retirement. Tuesday.
Monday is my last day.
Last day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Monday's my last day. Yeah.
You shed a tear. You're gonna cry.
I hope not. Yeah.
No tears?
Yeah.
As you
They
walk
had a
out?
celebration for me on Saturday. I shed a tear there, so
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, it's gonna. I'm sure it's gonna be bittersweet, but I'm ready for the next stage. I'm ready for the next stage of my life.
We will stay
Yeah.
tuned for after your 6 month sabbatical, relaxation, traveling the world. All the best.
Thank you.
You deserve some time out.
Mm.
Happy retirement. Thank you for those that have been watching and for those that will continue to watch this interview because it stays online and you can always come back and see it. Even you can come back and see it yourself in years to come.
Okay.
Happy retirement.
Thank you, and all the best to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.